All right, welcome back. We're going to be reviewing red cards on the fly in this video. So, starting with Act of Treason. It's been reprinted 1 billion times. It's a good card.
Yeah. So I guess we have Cavalier of Flame. This is the elemental. I guess they're all elemental knights. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But the mythic from this set. So it's 5 mana, 6/5. Pay 2. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. And then when Cavalier of Flame enters the battlefield, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. And then when Cavalier of Flame dies, it deals X damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control, where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. There's a lot of text. I think the most relevant portions to it are pay 7, attack with a 6/5.
Mm-hmm.
Or a 7/6, sorry.
Yeah.
So pay 7, attack with a 7/6.
Yep.
And if it happens to die and you get some lands in your graveyard, great. But you are just like ditching whatever cards are in your hand to draw the next one.
Discarding irrelevant cards to
Yeah.
draw more is usually pretty darn good. And then if you're discarding lands,
I'm super thankful it
and he
doesn't
dies.
have trample for some reason. Like,
Oh, it's red card.
I know, that's what I said.
It's a green ability.
I'm super thankful.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary. That's for sure. All right, and then we have Chandra. I'm super excited about all of the Chandras, but this one especially. So it's 3 mana, and it starts on 4 loyalty. Now, it has 0 abilities, so there's no way to add loyalty to it, but the first one does say, put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker you can control. So her plus ability doesn't really do anything but add loyalty. But if you have other red planeswalkers, then it does do stuff. The second, I guess it does stuff for them, not herself.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Second zeroed ability is create 2 1/1s, elementals, and they have haste and sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So this could conceivably be a finisher. It's not a high CMC planeswalker, but it can create haste creatures every single turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then -2, so you can use this as soon as she comes into play. You may cast target instant or sorcery with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard. If it would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. So -2 is a free flashback if it's 3 or less. So in a burn deck, you usually have a spell that fits
I think there's a couple in limited that would actually work pretty well with.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So, I don't just mean this, and like murder.
Yeah, or Act of Treason.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you go back too. Great. Take your guy again.
Yep. So I think for a 3 mana planeswalker, she's very strong.
Yeah.
But if she were 4 or 5, then she'd obviously be very weak.
Yeah.
So moving to the next one.
The next one is the mythic version of Chandra. Chandra, the Awakened Inferno. 6 mana planeswalker that comes into play with 6 loyalty. Thing to note, this spell can't be countered. So great against control.
Against this guy.
Yeah, gonna be amazing. But starts at 6, which I think is already a high loyalty ability. And then the first ability is a +2, where each opponent gets an emblem that at the beginning of your upkeep, this emblem deals 1 damage to you. So it is a recurring
It's
source
also
of damage.
the first time we've ever seen an emblem that's just on a reusable ability every time.
Yeah, and I don't think there's ever been a plus emblem that's been
No, they've all been ultimate emblems.
yeah.
So yeah, this is like a new kind of area that Wizards is kind of trying to see if this will work.
So I think it's nice the fact that they do just keep stacking.
Mm-hmm.
So
Give them a second, third, fourth emblem, and it's like cumulative upkeep. They take a damage.
yeah. So then, of course, 2 minuses because the plus I think is really good. So -3, Chandra Awakened Inferno deals 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. So it does make it kind of awkward for you to build your deck if that's the way you're going.
Well, then, you're probably playing this in more of a mid-range or control red deck.
Yeah.
So like Grixis maybe, Teamer.
So there could be some things I think that you play to it. And who knows, you could have an elemental deck that just comes from it.
Remember, these guys are elementals.
Yeah.
So,
but then, of course, -X, and Chandra Awakened Inferno deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. And if a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile instead. So, I mean, it does start at a high loyalty just for that -X ability as well.
She can come in and kill a 5 loyalty planeswalker.
Thing to note, she can come in and kill that thing.
And
still, I mean, it's still available. I'm not talking about yourself, but like, you're going to have some opponents.
If your opponent... I was like, if you want to exile your own dude, sure.
No.
Yeah, your opponent.
So, like, I mean, people are going to be trying to play with all the mythics that come out of the set. Yeah. So very nice that she starts so high, and she is able to deal with almost everything except for like the 8/8 black creature.
Yeah.
So.
Then we have the last iteration of Chandra, which is the uncommon version. So the power level is much lower, but she's 4 mana, starts on 5 loyalty, which is decent. +1 elementals get +2, +0 until end of turn. -1 is add 2 red, and -2 is dealing 2 damage to any target. So if you're just lucky enough to cast her on turn 3, you can make a couple of elementals and attack. You cast her on 4, you make a couple elementals, you attack with +2 power. So they do kind of work together with each other rather nicely.
Isn't there another creature in Standard that makes elementals?
Probably.
Like the one that gets the enchantments.
Is there a creature in Standard that makes elementals?
Yeah, so this thing could be... I think this thing could be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, she doesn't scream powerhouse, but at the same time...
When I say amazing, as an uncommon.
Yeah, as an uncommon. Yeah. She's not useless is the big thing.
Right.
She has relevant abilities. Even if you cast her on turn 4, plus her for no effect, turn 5 you have access to 7 mana. So 7 mana with Experimental Frenzy does things, right?
I think so. You have to refresh my memory, but not in the store.
Yeah.
So next is Chandra's Ember Cat. It's a 2 mana 2/2, but you could tap to add a red, and then it says spend this mana only to cast an elemental spell or a Chandra Planeswalker spell.
And it's an elemental kitty.
So if
she gets +2/+0.
Yeah, so the thing to note is just like, so you cast this on 2, you can also cast that Chandra on turn 3.
Yeah. Red ramp.
Yep. So
there's a lot of elemental creatures in the set too. So Chandra's Outrage deals 4 damage to target creature and 2 damage to its controller. So now that we have the new Planeswalker damage rule, this can't hit a Planeswalker with the 2 damage. Has to hit the opponent. But it's a premium removal spell in my opinion for limited because 4 toughness is usually pretty tough to deal with. I didn't even try.
So next is the interesting artifact. I think we have this as Chandra's Regulator. It's a 2 mana legendary artifact. Whenever you activate a loyalty ability of a Chandra Planeswalker, you may pay 1, and if you do copy that ability, then you may choose new targets for that copy. And then pay 1, tap it, discard a mountain card or a red card, and draw a card. So you do get, I don't know what it's not loot, right?
It's like you top deck a bad card, which I do all the time. Then you get to discard it and draw cards, so I don't mind that. But
I do think it's red. It's only played in red, though, right?
Well, it's mountain or red card. Mountain or red card, yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm just thinking about the red creature that discards a card and lets you draw something else because that's usually the only deck you see played in.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more situational than.
But the thing that gets me is
discarding any card.
When you activate the loyalty ability of a Chandra Planeswalker. So you do have the mana ability.
Yeah.
So like you effectively could
+1.
Yeah, so
+1 mana using it.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be something you could see some weird sort of like red ramp.
Let's go back here. So yeah, you could pay 1 and add
4.
You could pay 1 and give elementals +4.
Yeah.
You could it doesn't tap it to do it. So if you had this one in play, you could make. For 1 mana and the 0, you can make 4 elementals. And then if you have this one in play, you can give them +4/+0, and that's lethal.
Yeah. So another thing is it's like, so shock costs 1 red. There is the Chandra Planeswalker that does minus to shock something.
Mm-hmm.
So you could pay 1 and effectively do 4 damage. So
yeah.
I hear that 4 damage for 1 is really good.
It's better than Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, and Lightning Bolt's a ridiculously good card.
Yeah. So this is interesting, and I don't know if you'd see play. So like, if I'm playing a deck without Chandra, I'd rather have Treasure Map.
Yeah. Yep.
But if I'm playing a deck with Chandra, I'd probably rather have this.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously Treasure Map's going to rotate. So, then we have Chandra's Spitfire. I feel like this is a reprint.
I don't know. I don't believe so, but
if not, we have very similar creatures printed before. So it's 3 mana 1/3 with Flyer. So flying in red, and it's not like a huge dragon, is pretty decent, because red usually is low to the ground. And whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, it gets +3/+0. So if you have ways to consistently do damage to your opponent...
Turns out Chandra does.
Mm-hmm. Then it's a 4/3 with flying. which in limited is really a lot of damage.
Yeah. So next, Daggersail Aeronaut. 4 mana, 3/2, and as long as it's your turn, has flying. Again, this is that card that has as long as it's your turn.
This one I don't mind as much because it's actual evasion. It's not like, oh, I have first strike but 1 toughness, so a 1/3 beats me.
I think the biggest problem is that it's red and there's not a whole lot of flying to begin with. Right. So like you really want to have flying. I'd be more excited if it said when it's not your turn, it has flying. Well, I think
I like it the way it is as opposed to that way because on red you want to be on the attack. You're not playing a defensive deck, so you want to be able to get your damage through. So I do like it from that perspective.
I just feel it like on turn 5, attacking with a 3/2, you're probably it's probably dying anyway.
True. So. It's not super aggressive for red. Yeah. Right. Then we have Destructive Digger, which is a 3 mana 3/2, pay 3 and tap it, sacrifice an artifact or land to draw a card. This is okay. I would be more excited if it was a 2/3. Because this is a card that doesn't really scream aggressive, because you're trying to hold it back and use its ability. So being a little bit more of a bigger toughness would be ideal. But late game, it's fine to just sacrifice extra lands and see what you can draw.
Yep. So this is, I guess, another reprint from a while ago. Dragon Mage, a 7 mana 5/5. It's a flyer, and then whenever it deals combat damage to player, each player discards their hand, then draws 7 cards.
Wheel of Fortune on a stick.
Yeah, so I guess the thing to note with this is you have to be very careful if you do decide to play this in limited because the simple fact that
you could deck yourself.
Yeah, it's not discard your hand and draw that many cards. It's discard your hand then draw 7 cards.
You're also refilling your opponent's hand. Yep. So this is a really wonky card to play in limited. Yep. Drakuseth, Maw of Flames, 7 mana 7/7. It's another dragon, so it has flying. When we're going to call him D-Seth. Attacks. It deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like this card.
Yeah. It does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And it can take out potentially 3 blockers. So obviously in limited you're going to play it. We'll see if it makes any decks in standard.
Yeah, I think it's almost like if they do...
it hits planeswalkers with the...
Well, we have had some Theros cards that have kind of come back that maybe makes you think we're headed back there, and Devotion was a thing.
True.
So if that does end up coming around here towards the fall sets, there is something to think about. Like, it does have 3 red Devotion, and it does a ton of damage, so... next I guess it's Ember Hauler. 2 mana 2/2, but it happens to say that you pay 1, sack it, and deal 2 damage to anything. You shock it.
Yeah, so. It's a good card for limited.
Yeah.
Fire Elemental, 5 mana for a 5/4. It's if you need to play it in limited, you can. This has been around since Alpha Edition.
Next is Flame Sweep. So 3 mana instant. Flame Sweep deals 2 damage to each creature except for creatures you control with flying. So the nice part about this, where I think the last iteration of a card like this dealt it to just non-pirates.
Yeah.
This is only the creatures that you control that it doesn't deal damage to. Now, not all of them, only the creatures that you control with flying, but...
playing a blue-red flyer deck, or maybe a Jeskai flyer deck, or something.
Yeah, so in limited, I think this could be great. This would be a way to deal with
decent
just about
sweeper.
Everything. Yeah.
Yep. Fry, 2 mana instant, can't be countered. It deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker that's white or blue. So this is our red spell from this can't be countered and then situational spell cycle. Being able to take out... What planeswalkers do we have? We have Narset, Teferi... Not in the set, obviously. Just in standard. You have Narset, both Teferis.
You have a
Ashiok, Jace. Like, there's
Cameo.
Gideon.
A Johnny.
Although I haven't seen anyone really playing the Gideon.
So there's a lot.
There's a lot of targets, and it is 5 damage. And I suppose it takes out Lyra.
Yep.
So like it'll probably see sideboard play in the mono.
That's the thing to note is that it's white or blue. So the fact, like I said, Tameo, we're talking. She's a hybrid, right? Or no, she's not. She's Ashiok's a hybrid.
Yeah, Ashiok's.
Right. So Ashiok is blue as well as black. So it's not what they choose. You just get to choose what mana to pay for it. So next is Glinthorn Buccaneer. 3 mana 2/4 with haste. And then whenever you discard a card, Glinthorn Buccaneer deals 1 damage to each opponent. Thing to note, you can pay 2 and discard a card to draw a card. And activate this ability only if Glinthorn Buccaneer is attacking. So, I guess it's 5 mana, attacking with a 2/4, and drawing a card. And then dealing an additional 1, right? There's a lot of text on this card.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the card. It's a 2/4 with haste for 3.
Right.
It's got a good toughness, and it allows you to filter bad draws. And what's interesting is, again, like, if you're playing in a 2-headed giant tournament, or pre-release, I should say, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So that turns into 2 damage in 2-headed giant.
It seems like the recurring theme for red is the loot effect.
Yeah. So we have Goblin Bird Grabber. 2 mana, 2/1, and you can pay red to give it flying. You can only use this ability if you control a creature with flying.
The goblin that gets flying on your turn?
Yeah.
Turns out that
They
makes
both
this
fly.
thing better.
Yeah, it could see some limited play.
Yep. So Goblin Ringleader. It's pretty good for a Goblin's deck. 4 mana, 2/2 with haste, and then when it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all goblins revealed this way into your hand, and the rest of the bottom of your library in any order. I believe Ringleaders seen play in some other
Every
formats.
format.
Yeah.
Goblin Smuggler. 3 mana, 2/2 with haste. And you can tap it. Another target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. This is decent for limited. In red, you're going to be playing a lot of small creatures, and this guy does have haste to use his ability immediately, or just attack immediately. So I do like this card for limited.
Next is Infuriate. It's an instant for 1 red. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. It's a nice little combat trick for red. That's
I think it's
damage.
playable in limited because it can be used as a lightning bolt, basically. 1 mana for 3 damage. So Keldon Raider, 4 mana for a 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card, and if you do, draw a card. I like this card for limited because you don't have to use the ability, and then it's just a 4 mana 4/3. But being able to filter a bad draw is pretty useful.
Yeah. Next is Lavakin Brawler. 4 mana, 2/4. I guess it's an elemental, but when it attacks, it's +1/+0 until end of turn for each elemental you control. So when it's attacking, it's at least a 3/4.
Mm-hmm. And if you have the Chandra that makes 2 elementals to attack with, now it's a 5/4. So it synergizes very well with a lot of the other red cards. Leyline of Combustion. I've gotten 3 of the ley lines, and you've only gotten 1.
That's okay.
Yeah. So this is the red ley line. So again, you just tell your opponent, hey, I've got pregame effects, and put it into play before you start the game. And this one says, whenever you and or at least 1 permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, it deals 2 damage to that player. I mean, it's basically extra damage against like a removal heavy deck, so you put it in against control, I guess.
So if you're thinking limited implications...
I don't know if you play it limited.
I think you play it mono red actually wants this really badly. I think.
In limited?
No, in standard.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like if you're thinking...
we're both on different pages, and then we both turn the page.
Yeah. So like, if you're thinking limited implications, I don't know that you really play this.
No, I don't think you do either, because most of your decks are in limited are going to be creature-based.
Yeah, but like, in standard, mono red wants this thing.
Yeah, for sure. Like...
And in multiples, I think. So...
Yeah, you try to remove my little creatures 1 by 1...
Yeah,
and you get punished for it. Now, if you have a sweeper that doesn't target anything, that's a different story. But like, I thought erasure you and take 2. Now it's actually a Thoughtseize. Like,
so the thing that to notice, it's like the things that are removing creatures from the mono red are things like Little Teferi, where it's minus it, bounce the 1 card back. Now it is taking. You are taking 2, so there is some ramification to playing every card in.
And worth noting here is that it says at least 1 permanent. So if you have a spell that says up to 2 target creatures, that's not 2 triggers on this. It's just 1 still. So we'll move on. No, it's your turn.
Oh,
I had the line.
Maniacal Rage, 2 mana enchantment. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and can't block. If you're playing some suit 'em up deck, build your own Baneslayer Angel, I guess.
Build your own Baneslayer.
Yeah, man.
Baneslayer can block really well.
Yeah.
Marauding Raptor, 2 mana for a 2/3. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Marauding Raptor deals 2 damage to it. If a dinosaur is dealt damage this way, it gets +2/+0. We're not going to talk about the infinite loop combo where the game ends in a draw.
I'm sure somebody will put it in the comments. You can all read it there.
It exists. It's in standard. And WotC said, we don't care. And the game actually ends in a draw. So, I guess in actual constructed or limited play, I still don't know if I care about this card.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really anything that...
So making dinosaurs cost less is cool, but then he potentially kills things.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing with like the enraged triggers that are like the 2/3 that let you fetch a land,
or like Ripjaw Raptor,
yeah, some things like that. I think there could be a couple of implications there. So you are playing this on 2.
Yeah, 2-drop is really good, being a 2/3,
and then you are playing your Ripjaw Raptor on 3
and drawing a card. So yeah, I mean,
drawing a card and attacking for 4.
Sure.
So
yeah, I guess for a dinosaur themed deck,
but we only have a couple months left of that too.
Right.
So next is the equipment from
the equipment cycle.
Yeah, from the cycle there. Mask of Immolation, 2 mana, of course, and then when Mask of Immolation enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token, then attach the mask to it. And then this equipped creature has sacrifice this creature, deals 1 damage to any target, and you equip for 2. I think I'm probably the least excited.
This is probably it's probably the worst of the artifact equipments. Equipping for 2 kind of sucks here because it's 2 mana for 1 damage, and it costs you a creature, obviously, and it doesn't actually power up the creature at all. Yeah. So I'm not very excited about this.
I think that there could be the like Footlight Fiend style deck, the Aristocrats style deck.
It could be used in there.
Could benefit from this a little bit in standard, but
I guess it's worth noting that the creature is an elemental because there's a lot of synergy with elementals in the set.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. In the Aristocrats deck, it gives another sacrifice out of it. Pack Mastiff, 2 mana, 2/2, and you can pay 2 to each creature you control named Pack Mastiff gets +1/+0. So it's okay if you need to play a bear. If you need to play 3 bears, then it kind of snowballs a bit because each time you activate the ability, they all get the effect.
So next is another dragon. So Rapacious Dragon, 5 mana, 3/3, and of course it's flying. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 treasures. So
you thought treasures were rotating.
Yeah, I think this one's kind of interesting. So 5 mana, 3/3 with flying really doesn't catch my eye.
It's just okay.
Yeah, but the fact that you actually get a rebate on it to create 2 treasures, actually is really kind of nice. So then you can play something else, or the next turn
have access to 6 or
8 mana,
8, 7, whatever.
7, whatever, depending on however this all plays out. So I do like that effect. I wish it was on cast.
If it was like a 3/4, I'd be a lot more excited about the card.
Yeah.
Reckless Airstrike, 1 mana, sorcery, choose 1, deals 3 damage to target creature with flying or destroy target artifact. This will probably be a sideboard card, maybe in constructed. It deals with things, I guess. I don't know, situational, but it's
Shatter was played.
Yeah, it's cheap, but Shatter was an instant too.
Yeah.
So it's a cheap situational spell, so it might see play.
So next we have Reduced to Ashes, 5 mana sorcery. Reduced to Ashes does 5 damage to target creature, and then if that creature would die this turn, exile instead. I think it's just the fact that it gives you another removal spell in red.
Yeah, red and being able to deal with a 5 toughness creature is very good. Exiling it's kind of a bonus, but again it's very expensive, so it's probably a limited card and not a constructed card. Yeah. Repeated Reverberation, 4 mana instant. When you next cast an instant spell, cast a sorcery spell, or activate a loyalty ability, copy that spell or ability twice. You can choose new targets. So this is double fork for double the price. But you can target it doesn't target, but you can double a loyalty ability. It's going to be very expensive to double a spell. Or I guess it's triple a spell. Yeah. But loyalty abilities don't have a mana cost, so turn 5, let's say turn 4 even, if you wanted to double a Chandra ability or geez, if you were to double like a Sorin ability or something, it's got potential. I think. I don't think you're playing it in limited though.
I was just trying to looking at the way that the thing is worded, and why it's worded the way that it is. I guess I don't know. Instead of when you cast your next instance or you activate your next.
Yeah, it's weird the way they worded it, but
so I'm
no
sure
reason
there's
to get hung up
implications
on that.
So I don't know why I am though.
I mean, imagine if you like tripled it to fairy ability or something. I mean, -3, triple it, like tuck that. That's pretty good.
+1, draw 3 cards.
Sure, untap 6 lands.
Yeah, pretty good.
Like, there's some pretty serious implications, but it's a spell that if you top deck it with nothing, it does nothing.
Yeah.
So it's got potential. We'll see where it goes.
So next is Ripscale Predator. This is actually a dinosaur. So 6 mana, 6/5 with Menace. I like the Menace mechanic. There's not too many in this set, limited. So
this is the first Menace in the set we've seen, I think.
Is it? Okay, so like I do like the Menace because of the fact that it is a 6/5, so you do potentially get to take out 2 of the creatures if they do decide to block.
Yeah, I think it's fine for a finisher in limited.
Yeah.
Scampering Scorcher, 4 mana for a 1/1. When it enters, create 2 1/1 elementals that gain haste until end of turn. So these elementals don't die at the end of turn. They stick around. So this is 4 mana for 3 1/1s, which we've seen spells that make 3 1/1 tokens for 4. So I don't mind this, and there's a lot of elemental synergy, so I think it's fine and limited. 3 bodies to deal with.
So I guess the thing, and it's elementals you control gain haste until end of turn. So it does give itself haste as well.
True. Yep, that's true. I missed that part.
Yeah, so like that's kind of nice if you do have to have the Chandra that gives the +2. So you do have 4 mana, create 3 3/1s.
Yeah.
With haste, so that stick around. Next is Scorchspitter. 1 mana 1/1. When it attacks, it deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. So Cavalcade of Calamity on the creature.
Except you're forced to do the 1 damage to what it's attacking.
Yep.
So, but I mean, getting in for 2 points on a planeswalker.
Yeah.
And again, it's another elemental, so there's some synergy. Then we have Shock.
Yep.
You're playing it in limited. You're playing it in standard.
Tectonic Rift. 4 mana sorcery. Destroy target land. But creatures without flying can't block this turn, so I think it could be fairly relevant as a sideboard option for, even maybe possibly as mainboard option in limited.
Yeah,
the creatures without flying can't block.
I think we've seen this card, not necessarily the same name, but I think it's like a functional reprint.
Yeah, it could be the same name. I don't even know.
Most of your destroy target lands now cost 4 mana.
Yeah.
So this has additional text.
Yep.
So, Thunderkin Awakener, 2 mana for a 1/2 with haste. It's an elemental again. When it attacks, choose target elemental card in your graveyard with toughness less than this toughness. Return that card to the battlefield tapped and attacking, and then sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So a lot of, let's just go back here to this guy.
That guy.
So when you bring him back with it, you sacrifice him, but not the other 2. And he has 1 toughness, which is really nice. The other thing that you can think about is raising this guy's toughness with equipment or an enchantment, and then it opens up a lot other options. So I like this guy. He's a hasted 1/2 for 2. Like, it's not bad, and there's elemental synergies, and this is just another one.
We know those cards that we talked about in the other videos, but boost toughness.
Toughness, yeah.
+0/+2.
There's the Holy Strength reprint.
Yeah, so
Makes him a
it does
2/5.
definitely have. I mean, you have to go back and look at all of them, but yeah, like a 2/5. So the 5 toughness. A lot of the
anything with 4 toughness. Yeah, and like it's nice they gave him 2 right off the bat because obviously at 1 it wouldn't really bring anything back.
Right. So next is Uncaged Fury. So it's a 3 mana instant that target creature gets +1/+1 and gains double strike until end of turn.
I think it's overcosted.
Yeah, it is. But like that works fairly well with something that you're trying to buff. If you have like the previous creature, if you're really deep into that, I guess you'd have to. Other than that, I'm not a big fan.
Like, yeah, if at 3 mana it's really overcosted, I'd be excited if this was a 2 mana. Giving things double strike can be really, I mean, it can be lethal.
Yeah.
So like that's definitely a consideration, but man, 3 mana feels really bad for the effect there. All right, next one. Unchained Berserker. 2 mana for a 1/1. This is our protection cycle, so this one has protection from white. And it gets +2/+0 as long as it's attacking. So this is Elite Vanguard, but protection from white instead of being able to pay for life to give it instructor.
Was Elite Vanguard 3?
Or Adanto Vanguard.
It's Adanto Vanguard. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So this will probably see sideboard play in the mono red deck, is my guess.
Yeah.
So that's it for what color? Red cards. So we're gonna stop this video and then start back up and do the green cards. So thanks for watching.